And the recording has started. Alright, so welcome everyone. My name is Ben. I'm going to hand you over to Helena to start you off for our President and Vice President session.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Helena. I'm the current District Rotaract representative for District 9800. I've had various roles in my club. I've been president, vice president. I've also my second year of being District Rotaract representative, and I've been in Rotaract for more than around 5 years. So I've had a lot of experience in Rotaract. I'm one of your presenters today, and I've also got Ben here. Ben, did you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm testing out a new mic. I've got a third mic. Is this better? If people can put that in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Way better, Ben.
Thank you very much. So yes, my name is Ben. I've been in Rotaract for about 6 years. When I started, I was the charter president of my club, and took on that role for 2 years to really get my club started. So a lot of first-hand experience as president, and working with my vice president across those 2 years. And then I've since been the IT director for Rotaract Australia, a DRR last Rotaract year, and then I'm incoming governance for Rotaract Australia. So yeah, very, very excited to look after this session for you all with Helen.
Yeah, so just a reminder to keep your microphone on mute. We will be recording this session as well, so if you miss anything, just let us know, but you can always go back to the recording. If you've got any questions, put it in the chat and we'll try our best to answer them now. If we can't, we'll contact you after this.
Excellent. So Helen is going to put up a screen share, and I can see that all loading now. Excellent. So first, we're going to go over club president roles and responsibilities. So obviously, as president, we're leading our club to ensure that it functions effectively. So how do we do that? First, we've got to look at implementing and evaluating throughout the year what you've surveyed for your club wants for their goals. So as Beck mentioned in her last session, it's important to kind of start out your year asking what your club wants to achieve. Then obviously throughout your implementation throughout the year, it's important to evaluate as you go, not just at the end of the year. There's things to learn throughout everything, such as meetings, projects, and so on. Next, it's important to have a good understanding of your club's constitution and bylaws. That's going to provide a good foundation for making sure that you're operating well, that you understand things like achieving a quorum to vote things in your club, and how to do things like an AGM and so forth. Next, it's important to communicate important information to your club members. So you're going to be getting information from a wide variety of sources, generally Rotaract Australia, Rotary International, and then sometimes you get things from your Rotary District and sponsor clubs too. So it's important to stay up to date with those email lists and with the social media of those different organisations. Then on the next slide, we've got encouraging participation at club and district meetings and events. So obviously when we're in our club, we can have some awesome events and some fun meetings that we're trying to do as president, but it's important to get people outside of the club to see how big Rotaract is through other club events and things like ARC. On the next item, we're looking at monitoring our club budget. You don't want to go through your whole year and get to the end and go, oh geez, there's problems with it. If you're monitoring it throughout the year, before your AGM where you present your financial statements, you can work on small things like making sure receipts are all collected and all that kind of thing throughout the year. Later on in this presentation, we'll go through My Rotary and how to update your club administration. One of the biggest important things about being president is to not take it on all yourself. So club members generally appreciate the trust and them being involved when you delegate tasks to them. So it's important to not try and do it all yourself. Lastly, it's a fantastic opportunity to mentor your vice president. I know for a lot of clubs that I've spoke to, they say that vice presidents tend to generally go on to presidency, if not the year after, shortly after. So it's a fantastic year to give them a bit of confidence and growth, and give them a good understanding on the role of presidency. I'm going to pass you over to Helena to go over the vice president's roles and responsibilities.
Cool, thanks, Ben. So there are many instances where a Rotaractor is elected as the vice president, and a lot of times they really don't know what they're supposed to do in that role or how to best support the president without there being an overlap in both of the roles. So the main role of the vice president is to work as a team with the club president. The president should not be leading the club alone. The club and the vice president should work together to share the load and really act more as co-presidents to a point. The vice president is the main person who needs to support the president. This could be supporting them through their vision and goals for the year. It could be supporting the president if they are stressed and need someone to talk to, share and workshop ideas together, work with the president if there are any conflicts in the club. The vice president is there not only to assist the president, but if there are any other club officers who need assistance with their own duties, that you're there to assist them with that. The vice president is also there to fulfill any of the duties that the president is unable to do. So if the president planned to go to a Rotary meeting and then they became unwell, then it should be up to the vice president to pick that up and attend. Just like a club president, the vice president needs to know their club's constitution and bylaws to make sure that the club is legally complying with these documents. So most commonly, the vice president chairs the meetings when the president is an apology. The vice president should keep tabs on the different club committees and their progress, and provide the president with some updates as well. And in the event that there is a conflict between the president and the general members, the vice president will need to step up and become the mediator between the two parties. If the president decides to leave the club, the vice president will need to step up into the president position until a replacement is found for that spot. And if there are any concerns that you've identified in the club, it will be your duty to also report them to the president. So, what are the key qualities of a president and a vice president? So one of the key qualities as a president and a vice president is to have good leadership skills. So leadership is a very broad topic, but I've chosen a few key leadership qualities that will be needed for these roles. So the first one is communication. So communication is really important, and communicating with your club members and your board is really important. For example, if you're the president and you've been having conversations with your sponsoring club outside of formal meetings or not with the club's email address, let your vice president know, let them know what's happening, keep them in the loop. It's also important to check to see how your club members are going. Both vice president and the president can do this. If a member is holding a board position, check to see how they're coping with their role and how you may be able to assist them if they need it. So the next quality is active listening. So really listen and pay attention to what your members have to say. They really do want their opinions and voices to be valued. So if you do cut them off while they're talking, or you seem really uninterested, they will realize that, and that could agitate some people, and that could prevent them from participating in club discussions or events in the future. Always be welcoming and approachable to all club members. Always remember to delegate tasks. You don't have to do everything yourself. You have other club members who can help you out. And there will be times where you'll need to make decisions for the club. Both the president and the vice president should work together to make these decisions, and you'll need to be unbiased and impartial in difficult situations. So both of you will need to also have a shared vision. More than likely, the vice president will become the president of the club in the next year. So if you do have a shared vision, this will help you further develop the club in the future. Your club members will look up to you as a leader, and if you are not motivated, the members will notice, and this could cause members to also lose interest as well. As mentioned before, constitution and bylaws, to know them. I know that we've said that a few times, but it's really important. And maintain confidentiality is really important as well. I did notice that when I was president, I had club members approach me, call me up to talk to me about things that have happened in their personal lives. This may or may not have affected their participation in Rotaract, but I didn't see it before I was president. But when I became president, it became more apparent because I was in a higher leadership position. So in these cases, keep those conversations confidential, keep them to yourself, and don't talk about them with other club members. And yeah, be a good role model to the club. And also monitor the morale and acknowledge your members. So monitor to see how your club's going. See, are people beginning to not attend meetings? Are they still excited to do the old events that you've always done, or are they over them? Are they excited to do new projects or not? So monitoring the club's morale is really important. Also, in terms of acknowledging members, if a member has taken the initiative to chair a project or filled in last minute at a barbecue or created some templates, acknowledge them and thank them for their efforts, because that will make them feel as though their efforts have been valued and their time has not been wasted. So I'll just pass it to Ben.
Alrighty. So a Rotaract citation is an ability for your club to get recognition from Rotary International that you're supporting their strategic priorities by completing different goals throughout your year. So the 2020-2021 Rotaract citation isn't out yet. I believe it was delayed due to the coronavirus. So your current year has until the 15th of August to do theirs. But yeah, you should see some news from Rotary International on that over the next few months. So on the next slide, we can see the first strategic priority is unite people. So for time, we can't go through them all, but they'll generally be the same year to year, roughly. So it's important to have a look through that and see how you can align your club goals to this to get a Rotaract citation. The next one is inspire action. Take action. So for this, same thing, you've got to achieve 3 of the 5 goals listed. Next, looking at My Rotary, we've got club administration. So when you log in to my.rotary.org, you'll see a page up the top. Click manage and then click club administration as we've circled. And then when you've clicked that, it'll take you to a page for Rotaract. You want to make sure that before you go into this to update members, that your current president has on the right-hand side clicked on add or edit Rotaract Club officers, so that they've listed you as president or vice president and updated all those roles for this incoming year. And then over the left, you want to update and add your Rotaract member details throughout the year. You don't really want to leave it more than 3 months, but ideally you want to keep it to as they're joining, as then Rotary gets much more reliable information for how long people are members and so forth. For our next slide, we've got a Rotary citation report. So under the reports area, if you click on those buttons, you can see and check off how you're going with your Rotary or Rotaract citation during the year. So now Helena's going to go over some helpful contacts for you during the year.
Yeah, so if you need any further assistance, You can always approach your district Rotaract representative, your immediate past president, your district governor, youth chairs, sponsoring clubs, and the Rotaract Australia executive team. So you're not in this alone. You do have a lot of people around you. So, and a lot of these people have been presidents before, whether in Rotaracts or Rotaries. So they know what it's all about and what the role entails. So. Okay, so the next part of this session will be interactive. So there will be 3 scenarios which we will read out. So a Google form will be sent through the chat, and after each scenario is read out, you will need to answer the scenario and then submit your Google form back to us. The first scenario is an example of something that will happen during your presidency. The second scenario could happen, and the third scenario is unlikely to happen, but very important for you to know. So just go to the first scenario. Ben, did you want to read that out?
Yep. So I've posted a link in there as well. So you can click on that link now whilst I'm reading it out. And then, yeah, answer it. We've got about 5 minutes for this scenario. So it's important to submit whatever you've got at the end. If it's incomplete, that's totally fine. Yeah, just submit what you can. So scenario 1 is you're currently in the middle of a very busy week dealing with work and or studying, and you're stressed. On top of that, you have a list of tasks that need to be completed before your next Rotaract meeting in 2 days. Below is the list of tasks that need to be addressed. How would you address each item? Your to-do list is 7 items. First one being send out a club meeting reminder. The second being money from the club's latest fundraiser is to be deposited into the club bank account. Number 3 is following up on any planning progress reports from club committee projects. Next is to reply back to a potential member who's just contacted the club indicating interest to join the next meeting. Number 5 is Facebook and Instagram posts need to be posted for your latest event. Number 6, newly inducted members need to be added to my Rotary. And then number 7, your DRR has messaged you wanting to catch up and see how your club is going. So what we want to see in your response is a bit of a priority, and if possible, and then what you're going to do to get those things sorted in the 2 days until the meeting. Alrighty, guys, so we've got about 1 minute left. Thanks. We've got a lot of responses through so far. Thank you very much. And then we're going to move on to scenario 2 after this 1 minute. And then we've got a third scenario, and then we'll be going through explaining a few of the responses and a few of our takes on the scenario. Alrighty. Laura, I can't see anything to let we're in. You be able to handle that?
No, I'll contact her.
Yes, thank you. Alrighty, so moving on to scenario 2. So scenario 2, Helena will post the link for the Google form, but I'll read it out loud. So we've got another 5 minutes for this one as well. So you've been approached about an event happening soon. The request is to have club members provide volunteer work. It would also require a lot of work and would likely be a huge commitment for the next few months. In order to participate, you would need to give an immediate response and won't be able to contact the whole club to consult with them. You feel it will benefit them, but don't know if they will agree to it. As a president, how would you face this decision? Alrighty, so we've got about 1 more minute left for scenario 2. I'm getting a few responses through. Thank you very much, everyone, for your quick work. We really appreciate it. Alrighty, so we're going to now move over to scenario 3, and Helena's going to take us through this one.
Okay, so scenario 3. So this is not as likely to happen, but I also want you to liaise with the president, vice president in your club, talk to them about this before answering it. So it's a question for both, a scenario for both of you to do together. So a club member has approached you and mentions they were harassed by another club member who was intoxicated at the club's most recent event. Now they feel unsafe to attend the club's future meetings and events. Other club members have also mentioned that they have received inappropriate messages from the same person. They are requesting that you remove this individual from the club. How would you address this as president and vice president and work together to address the issue? So we'll give you a little bit more time for this one, and we do suggest that you contact either your president or vice president, either by Facebook or quick phone call, just to discuss how you as a team would do this.
Alrighty guys, so we've got about 1 or 2 more minutes for scenario 3, and then we'll go into explaining and reading out some things from scenario 1. Alrighty, so going on to scenario 1. Thank you very much, guys, for going through those 3 forms. We've got lots and lots of responses, so it makes our job a whole lot easier. Alright, so for scenario 1, this is back to the to-do list. And so the key part of this exercise that we wanted you guys to achieve, which was overwhelmingly submitted back to us, was delegation is key. So this whole to-do list isn't your to-do list. It's things that you've got to do, things that your club has to do. And so as president, doing everything isn't up to you directly. And so it was fantastic to see heaps and heaps of responses going over delegation. So some people delegated a lot more than others, and that's fine. You've got to find a good balance between things that you think you can do easily, because if there's a task that is small that might require a lot of explaining, you've got to kind of balance out as to you and your preference as to is it worth that time of explaining. Generally, it is, even though it might be a long time. It might be a task that needs to be done throughout the year, so it's worth actually spending that time and kind of mentoring that club member to be able to do that task throughout the year. If it seems like a one-off, that's generally the things that you would maybe not delegate. But overall, if in doubt, it's not going to do harm to delegate. So yes, we've got one submission that went over number 1 being delegating to secretary, number 2 delegating to treasurer, number 3 these committees can report back at club meetings, number 4 ask if any board members are able to assist, otherwise prioritize getting in touch with that member, number 5 delegating that to the club services director or PR. Number 6 is non-urgent and can be completed after the meeting. That's totally right. It's not an urgent thing you have to do before the meeting. So great analysis. And then number 7 is to politely request to wait until the next week when life has calmed down a bit. And that's really, really key. The DRR that is there for your support, not to add to the stress. So whenever they're reaching out, it's totally okay to say, hey, bit flustered or a bit hectic at the moment. I can either get back to you next week, or we can schedule a time now, or we can schedule a time later. It's important that you just send that quick reply to your DRR, and they'll understand. Almost all DRRs have been a president beforehand, and I know that Rotaract is full of empathy, so there should be no issue there. So yes, thank you everyone for putting delegation as a priority. It's very, very key to going through the things that you need to do, because we have a team around us to help us out and to get these things done. So now moving on to scenario 2. So we got I was very impressed with the answers for this. A lot of people were saying that it felt a bit tricky, having to reply on the spot without contacting the whole club. You know, made a lot of people feel uneasy, and very understandably so. So with these decisions, I definitely agree. If someone ever puts you on the spot, which I think I've only ever seen once for an opportunity, so maybe 99% of the time, no one will put you on the spot. A lot of people will give time for you to at least contact the club over the next day or two, especially for last minute Rotary opportunities where someone else has pulled out. You generally still have a little bit of time. But yes, for a lot of people, they said if they had to do an immediate response that second, they would say, no, unfortunately, we can't commit to this, which is perfect. As someone said, you're a coordinator of the club, not there to control the club. So that is spot on. You're, as president, don't be going around committing to things that you're not sure your club has the buy-in. But for most opportunities, you'll have a bit of time. A few people included a response for if that was the case, where they would go in and they would message their club through something like Facebook Messenger or Slack or a Facebook group. That's perfect. It's usually a good medium to go and get a quick, rough kind of response. If you see a whole lot of messages or activity or reactions to that idea, your club might be really, really keen and might be able to do something last minute, generally with those volunteering roles, or it might not get much interest, or people might be already scheduled for that weekend or something, or that kind of thing. So that kind of quick messaging straight away should be able to get a rough guide on your club's buy-in, so that you can go back to that person within that short timeline. So well done. I'm glad people weren't signing their clubs up to big commitments without consulting their club. So now we're going to move on to scenario 3, and Helen is going to go through this for us now. Thanks, Helen. You're still on mute, Helen.
Yeah. So we did get a lot of responses for scenario 3. So thank you for sending them through. I had a look at the responses. There were people who said ban alcohol from all events. Others mentioned just completely remove that member from the club. Others had a different approach. They said gather all the information first before you make any decisions. Listen to both sides of the story, see what's happened, talk to your district Rotaract representative or any other Rotarian as well. There were also others who said that they would look at their club bylaws, they will look at their constitution, see what can and can't be done in legally within that area. So definitely it really depends on the situation as well. This is a situation where a vice president and president need to be, they shouldn't be biased towards one person. They'll need to be impartial in situations like this. I'll give you an example of what my club has done. So my Rotaract club is in the process of updating our club bylaws, and we've just put in a 6-page code of conduct. And that outlines all the club behaviours which will be tolerated and will not be tolerated by the club. So we've actually incorporated a flowchart which explains how complaints will be handled. So depending on whether the complaint is against the general member or if it's against the president, there's a flowchart which states that you have the complaint. If it's for the president, you need to fill out a club incident report that gets given to the president. And if you have a complaint against the president, then it goes to the district Rotaract representative or the sponsoring Rotary Club as well. So it really depends on the situation. Then the incident report gets assessed, and then an outcome is made after that. So essentially, for all complaints, a club incident report will need to be filled out and sent back to either the club president or the district Rotaract representative to assess the claim and minute all the outcomes. So this is what our incident report looks like. So we need to know all matters, everyone's story first before we start making any accusations. So our incident report, it does look like this. We do ask details about the person, details about the event and what happened, whether the police or ambulance were involved, were there witnesses, was there any injuries. So this form is for a whole variety of situations. Could be medical, could be a bullying claim, a harassment claim. We've got this form in place for any of those situations, and it will also be recorded. So in the instance of someone being harassed and they want the club to know about what's happening, they will need to fill out this form. It will then be given to either the president, vice president, or the district Rotaract representative to review. Then once it's filled out, the assessor will need to make comments, recommendations, and a plan forward, and it'll be recorded and then stored into our club's Gmail account. So with our code of conduct, we actually have, when the president or the DRR is reviewing the submitted incident report, they will need to identify which category the misconduct falls under. So we've had prepared a table of various behaviours which will not be tolerated by our club. And category 1 is the least severe behaviours, and category 3 contains behaviours which could result in immediate termination of membership. So this needs to be assessed, and then you need to read the incident report to see which category the behaviour falls in. So after the incident report has been assessed, we do have a process where we review the incident report, and then we give a verbal warning. There's instructions of what needs to be done. If it happens again or another incident happens, then they get a first and final notice in writing. And then they will get, the third time that they do it, there will be a notice of club expulsion. So this is the way my club will handle all situations moving forward once we get this approved by our club. But if anyone is interested or would like a copy of this, we can send that out to you if you wanted to adopt something like that. We've also got in our code of conduct to review other policies as well. So our district does have a harassment policy and all different types of policies in there. So if our club constitution does not have the disciplinary measures in there for a particular incident, we can then refer to policies that our district has. So that's one way that you can look at any conflicts or any harassment or bullying claims or anything like that. So if you've got any questions or want to know more about this, just let me know. So I'm just looking at the time. So just to quickly move on, we've got our question and answers, so our Q&A. So we did receive a few Q&As prior to this session. So one of them was, what advice would we give as a for incoming presidents and VP? My advice would be just take your time. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to do too much and do it all. And also use your time effectively. I know when I was president, I used to travel to work by public transport. So I used to use that time on the train and the tram to do some Rotaract stuff because I didn't really have a lot more to do because I'd already listened to all the music podcasts, already went through social media. So during that time, I would do some of my Rotaract stuff, not anything too big, but writing a list down of what to do. So when I got home after work, I already had done most of my Rotaract stuff for the day. So it's just time management and using your time effectively. Ben, do you have any advice?
Yeah. So I remember going back to president, really excited, going in with a lot of motivation, inspired to really make some awesome change. Now, obviously, it's going to be a year-long adventure, so you really want to ensure you're not pouring 100% into the first couple of months, to which you're going to be really low for the rest of the year. So as much as it's super exciting to make this change, it's really important to, throughout the goals and throughout the things that your club wants to achieve and that you want to achieve throughout the year, that you really break that down to a level that's going to be sustainable. So as much as you might be able to, you might have the time to do a whole lot of work in July just to start things off at the club. You really want to look and scale it down as to, what are the components that you're going to do over the year. The change generally doesn't have to be all done in July. So really splitting it out, making it really low. If once you've achieved, all the goals you want to achieve for that month, and you feel like you've still got some energy, then you might be able to continue doing a little bit more. But it's really important to, after you're finishing your goals, take a bit of rest, not spend too much time immersed in it, and making sure that you're going to go on all year, all strong. That's that. Also wanted to share, so we've got a lot of questions from different people. Obviously, we don't have the time to go over all of them in an hour, so we're looking at making a bit of a Q&A doc of all the questions that were sent in. So if you don't have your question answered, don't stress. Everyone will be getting a summary of all the questions we received and our takes on them. Helena, do you want to go over the next question, or do you want me to?
I'm just having a look at the chat to see what people are writing down. Just go back to what Sam mentioned. So how do you share this, so the code of conduct, with new members when they join? So the way that our club will be doing that moving forward is we will have a membership form, and they have to agree that they've read the club constitution, bylaws, and code of conduct before they can be admitted as a member into the club. So that's how we're doing our inductions moving forward. Just having a look. I can share the code of conduct. Just the need to specify, amend it a little bit, but once it's been fixed up, I can share with everyone the code of conduct.
And also to everyone, this will be mentioned in the Rotaract Australia session, but we're really, really keen for, especially things like, I've seen comments of people making their own codes of conduct or other documents. Any kind of resources that your club has, if you can submit them onto rotaract.org.au/resources, there's a little form where you can attach them and send them in to us. That's going to be great for going through all the different codes of conduct for clubs throughout Australia and really grabbing out the best pieces so that we have a real strong one for us nationally on our national website resources area. So yeah, that would be absolutely awesome if anyone has any resources that they can share them with us so that we can share them out to other clubs. So the last question I think we can do, do you have a high priority one, Helena?
Just going through everything to see. But we'll definitely get to all of them and send you all an email as well, because you've asked some really good questions. We just can't get through all of them today. Just having a look.
So Holly asked an awesome question. What should you do if the person who the task should be delegated to isn't always reliable? That's a bit of a longer one, so for a response. So what Helena and I might do is maybe in some one we might even possibly record a video response for you guys that we can send to you guys. Yeah, that is a very good question. Thank you very much. I think it's been asked by a couple of people, so thank you very much for asking that.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we better head back into the other session. I know that's about to start, but thank you so much, Ben and Helena, for the session today. I think it's been really informative. So if everyone could, show some appreciation, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. And best of luck throughout your year as President and Vice President.